Muy buenas tardes a todos, a
Good
todas.
afternoon, everyone. I am very excited to be here with you today in this session within our mastermind programs, but this is the first session about Misión Indígena, Indigenous Mission. We are honored to implement here at Kingala for the U.S. Embassy in Mexico. And as I said, I would like to welcome you and also tell you that this session is going to have a lot of content of value that you can apply everything that we're going to learn from the speakers that we brought here today. So to start this session, I am going to explain to you that this session is going to last for 1 hour. And for everyone who is currently online, please stay online during the 60 minutes that we're going to be streaming. And something very important that we're going to do, which is going to be of benefit to you who are taking an hour of your time to be here, and that you can gain more content of value for your companies and all the projects that you have. We are going to gift a book to you from the US Embassy in Mexico, where you will be able to learn and gain more knowledge about all the topics that we will be presenting about this series of conferences. And for that, you will only have to participate in this session. By participating in this session, you will have won the right to participate in the raffle of a book that we are going to be giving away today. There is a link in the chat where we are going to request your information. It's very basic information. And at the end of the session, everyone who has registered in this form is going to be participating to win this book. So if you are inside Mexico, we are going to send it at anywhere in the country. And if you are outside the country, we will be sending it to you digitally. This is just the housekeeping. We are going to start and wait for people to continue logging in. And again, we wanted to welcome you. My name is Jose Luis Reyes, and I have the privilege to direct this organization that has been proudly implementing this program along with the US Embassy in Mexico, who is sponsoring all of these sessions and who makes this possible. So to officially start, I would like to give the floor to Miguel Vásquez from the US Embassy in Mexico, and appreciating, of course, his confidence. Now, please, Miguel, can you please officially introduce this session? Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Miguel, go ahead. Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
If anybody speaks only English, please look for the translation services within Zoom. And just to finish, solamente para terminar el...
And to finish this off, this is the book that Jose Luis just mentioned. It's called Disruption Of. This is one of the speakers who came before. His name is Terry Jones. So don't miss it. It's very good. And welcome to this session about Misión Indígena. This session, these mastermind sessions, we always have some alumni of the program of the US Embassy and one US speaker. So thank you, Jamie, to suggest the speaker today. And the embassy is committed to make America inclusive, that promotes social inclusion and prosperity of indigenous populations. So first, I will have to introduce the YLI program alumni from the Professional Fellows program, who is Eduardo Barrita, who's here with us. Thank you, Eduardo, for participating. He is the founder and director of Hacer Común in Cimatlán in the Oaxaca state, where he works in a program for social transformation. His project is very interesting because it's focused in the preservation of wood products that are designed and transformed, and also the preservation of the art, so that you can find the ingenuity in all the participants through the tradition of the last woodworker in the region, Abuelito Doroteo. So welcome, Eduardo. Now we are moving to Iván Vásquez, who is also from Oaxaca. He is an entrepreneur living in Los Angeles. who started a chain restaurant who has already 4 locations. It's called Madre, focused on the native cuisine from Oaxaca. Iván is also an advocate for indigenous rights from the people of Oaxaca and has appeared in several media to aid in the communication and promotion of the challenges that these communities face there in Los Angeles. He's also an advocate from the communities who work on mezcal, who are facing challenges from unfair business practices. So to learn more about what Iván does in Los Angeles, we decided to share a part of a video that appeared in CBS News as a context for this. You will be able to hear the audio in English from the video.
No se escucha el video todavía.
¿Se escucha bien el video?
No, no se escucha todavía.
There is no audio from the video yet.
Listo, ¿verdad?
Good morning, Rap. It is Hispanic Heritage Month, and one of the best ways to show your support is to shop Latino. So joining me right now is Iván Vásquez, owner of Madre, a Oaxacan restaurant and
Mezcaleria.
Mezcaleria. I can't believe I messed that up. We also have Juan over here too. We're so excited. You have this beautiful spread, but I want to talk about your story first and foremost because you just opened your 4th location in Santa Clarita. That is huge. Okay, so tell me a little bit about how this journey even began.
Well, we started in 2012 with our first restaurant, and we just opened our 4th location yesterday in Santa Clarita with an amazing patio, a full bar of mezcal, traditional mezcal from Mexico, and with my mom's recipes and traditional dishes from Oaxaca, like we have today here. Clayuda, oysters with chintestle, memelas, barbacoa, and an amazing collection of mezcal. We just opened yesterday, representing our culture, our tradition, our cuisine, represented Mexico as well, and a piece of Oaxaca is in Santa Clarita now, officially open as of yesterday.
I love this. Okay, but your story, I mean, you were working at Baja Fresh, and now
Correct.
you're a business owner of multiple locations. So tell me a little bit about that journey.
Well, I worked for Baja Fresh, which is a great company, for 15 years, and I decided to start my own restaurant in 2012. And I was missing that flavor of my mom's cuisine recipes, and said, well, let's do Oaxacan and let's bring mezcal as well. In 2015, mezcal started arriving to the United States, and I was very proud. And now, you know, we represent the largest collection of mezcal in the United States, not only from Oaxaca, but also for all over Mexico. So we started in 2012. We opened Torrance location in 2017. We opened West Hollywood in 2020 during the pandemic with my family and my amazing team. And we just opened Santa Clarita, which is one of the most beautiful restaurants that we open, and it's one of the most beautiful restaurants in Santa Clarita with a beautiful patio, our different elements from Oaxaca, artisanal elements from Oaxaca. It's just amazing.
You know,
Excelente, pues vaya que se antoja.
Great, so this is something that I would like to eat, and I would like to visit this restaurant Madre when we go to Los Angeles. So finally, I will also like to thank Kingala to organize these sessions from Masterminds, and soon we will be organizing an in-person session in the state of Oaxaca. So we do not have the details yet, but you are invited. So go ahead, Iván and Eduardo, welcome. Thank you so much, Miguel. Well, welcome everyone again. Before we start, I would like to thank the embassy for this opportunity. I am very honored to interview Iván, because when I heard about this project, the interview, and I saw that video, I felt very proud to know that someone also from Oaxaca is doing great things in Los Angeles. And also, I felt very close because my mom was one of the first migrants from my community. That's another story, but when I had the chance to be there, it was a very deep feeling to know the history when you are a migrant, or in my case, well, that is very different from my part. But when I started to hear the story of Ivan, I was very surprised with his success and how he has shown the culture, the cuisine of Oaxaca. So for this session, now Ivan has been introduced, so there is a lot to know about him. So this interview, we will be divided in four sections. The first is to know more about him. The second is to know more about the cuisine and culture. The third is about sustainability topics, especially mezcal, and community development. This session is a case of success, but the intention is not to promote migration, but to try and find change from our communities and to feel proud of our roots. Ivan, welcome. I don't know if you have anything to say before we start with the questions. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and share our story. And thanks to that, I hope that we can hear the story of other people from Oaxaca who are also in other parts of Los Angeles and the United States who have made a difference in the culture of this country. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Ivan. When we were sharing through our social media the call so that you could join this interview, also from our community is Juana Maya, a traditional cook who is connected today. She is very happy to hear you, to hear your story. She's also someone who is promoting the local cuisine in Cimatlan. So cheers to Juanita. Ivan, we're going to start with a question, which is what inspired you to open Madre in Los Angeles, and how was this idea born of sharing the Oaxacan cuisine with the world? I saw the need, and because I said, okay, I'm going to be here for a few years, I wanted to come and work. But the first thing that I missed from home was the food from Oaxaca, the cuisine, the chapulines, the crickets. So I worked for a long time in a restaurant chain. I learned the best from them. And one day I said, okay, it's time to open my own restaurant. I think that I no longer want to work for a corporation or for a company. I really do not have more ambition, more dreams than that. And I think that life closed all the opportunities of advancement in that company. So I managed 15 restaurants from Baja Fresh. So those 15 restaurants, I opened 6 of them. I managed all 15 of them. It was a routine, a lifestyle for me. I really love restaurants. And from there, we faced the recession from 2008, and that was a strong hit. So that restaurant chain unfortunately started to close some locations because of the competition, and the economy was not the best at the time. And then in 2012, I went to work short term in another company, a larger company, and I really didn't like it because life closes some paths. And the only thing that inspired me was to open my own restaurant. I started with that inspiration, and I said, okay, I think destiny is telling me that I'm ready for new things. I am prepared. I spoke to my family. I planned it. And we started in a very small place in Culver City with 5 tables and 5 bar seats. And we started in 2012. I was inspired by the recipes that I missed from my mother, like molotes or a tamal de mole or barbacoa, all the sauces and moles. So I wanted to serve something different that is also traditional. I'm going to import chapulines. at the time there are people who brought those people back from home, but I thought of started doing like I brought the school from Los Angeles to my restaurant, so there was a lot of liquor. So mezcal started arriving to Los Angeles. So that's something that I drank in Oaxaca. I still want to drink it. Oaxaca people want to drink mezcal. So we're going to curate a selection of mezcal and be competitive about it. And so I was proud to see mezcal because I wanted to show everyone the food from Oaxaca, but I also wanted to show and kind of be proud of my mezcal because this is our product. This is from Oaxaca. So several projects related to mezcal arrived to us from several locations because I thought, okay, we have a wide diversity of mezcal in Los Angeles. And every day more mezcals were started arriving. So that inspired me to show my culture and show where I was from. At that time, I was still living what we call the Oaxaca, California, which is the feeling of being in another country, in another city, but your heart and your mind is in Oaxaca. That is the Oaxaca, California feeling. So from that feeling arose Madre, all the love that I felt for Oaxaca and its cuisine and its drinks. Everything was out in the restaurant. So that was a way to show what I had. So we have authentic food with good mezcal, and that's the way we evolved until 2015. So here's where we arrived at the full concept of Madre, and people liked it a lot because it was a very diverse area. It's in the area nearby Santa Monica. So people went crazy with mezcal margarita or to drink some mezcal with chapulines or to eat traditional tlayuda. And in the background, we had traditional music. So it was a very good environment. I was very inspired. And I was very satisfied to see the customers to say, hey, your food is delicious and I really like mezcal. I tried it in Oaxaca long ago. So that's how the doors opened. That's how we started Madre. And in that sense, Ivan, how could you balance the traditional Oaxacan cuisine with innovation for this market in a city like Los Angeles, where people who perhaps have never ate a chapulín or a mole or even the seasonings? Sometimes people really can't eat it because of the seasoning. So how could you find the balance in your restaurant? So once I understood the market where I was, which is Los Angeles, and that is West Los Angeles, it was a young population, working population. They were all professionals. So we started offering samples. So maybe if you have never had tried mole, or I'm just used to tacos and burritos, or I'm used to this, they didn't want to eat something very traditional. So what we started doing was just a little sample so that they could try it out, or some tacos with special seasoning called coloradito. Then we served quesadilla and to try some new foods. And from then, their palate started opening. And the same thing happened with mezcal. They thought it was very strong, it was too smoky. So we started to educate them how a mole was prepared, how bean paste was prepared, why we didn't use pinto beans, we used black beans. So all the terminology of the food, like what does asesina mean, what does chorizo mean. So they started to understand the culture a lot. And something that people like in Los Angeles is that they want to learn different cultures. They do not only want to learn Mexican culture, but also other countries, so cuisines. So when we brought that and mezcal, and we were bringing new terms to their palate, they saw it as education in the restaurant. So that opened my doors a lot with mezcal, because we were the few, or basically the only one, who were talking about the different types of agave, the different types of Oaxaca regions where mezcal was produced. So it was kind of a little school, and that allowed us to expand, and that satisfied us a lot and drove us to move forward. And Ivan, you mentioned something very important about the people from Los Angeles. So that feeling, that and that Oaxaca, California feeling. Here we have a restaurant called Oaxaca, California from the chef Alejandro Ruiz. And I I haven't heard that feeling defined before, but related to that, how many Latino people or Oaxacan people you received in your restaurant, and how through your restaurant, well, I read in your biography about racism, and I know that's a delicate subject, but I think it's important to mention that how through your labor you have just broken those barriers regarding the Oaxacan community. So the name of Oaxaca, California is used here because we have the second largest population from Oaxaca here in Los Angeles, besides the city of Oaxaca or the state of Oaxaca. So all of Los Angeles and South California respects people from Oaxaca because we work very hard. So they respect us a lot. We work a lot. We are a very important piece of the city, especially in restaurants and agriculture. So yeah, regarding racism, that is something that's been very strong and stronger still in the last years. But we have joined together, the people from Oaxaca, and to raise our voices and to make a difference. We do not insult anybody. We do not. We only want to demonstrate how great is our culture and our value as our people and as an ethnic group. And we want to continue to educate people because we do not only have one region, but we have different regions from the sierras or from the coast. So when people from Oaxaca join together, we have made a difference. And we organize events like dancing, but we also have social movements, or if anyone from Oaxaca has a challenge or a problem, we join together. For example, when the fires in Oaxaca started, we started to collaborate between everyone who was there, and even from people who weren't from Oaxaca. People donated money for some organizations in Oaxaca, including me. I received donations so that we could send money to fire relief in Oaxaca. So they understand the social movement from Oaxaca, California. We are very respected from our work and maybe from previous generations because they started arriving in the 70s and the 80s and they already had a name. So when I arrived, being from Oaxaca was already a good mark for work, but it was not good for progress. They always wanted to see us as dishwashers. But when you arrive to a business that a business owner that is from Oaxaca, well, that really motivated us so that people stop seeing us as just cooks or just dishwashers or just people who work in cleaning, but we can also handle a business. We can also have our own business, and we can give a lot to the economic development of the city, not only in Los Angeles. There are other people from Oaxaca who are in Texas, in New York, San Francisco. So they are supporting the development of those cities. Yeah, and also the cultural development, economic development. I think that the Oaxacan workforce is very hardworking, and I think that's very nice. Some days ago, I saw your Instagram stories about the event that you had, and this question is about, beyond being a dishwasher and working hard, we have other skills that we have, such as yours, to direct this restaurant. So I saw your event through your Instagram stories, and you took some animals and you had a festival, something that made us feel very proud. So I wanted to ask you, what have been the challenges, the most formal challenges, so to speak, and what advice would you give to entrepreneurs in the US? Some time ago, there was a show called Emprendimiento para Todos, or Entrepreneurship for All. So everyone who is Latino has a lot of challenges. So from your experiences, what are those challenges? How have you overcome them? And what advice would you give to people in the US who want to start a business? Yes, we have had a lot of obstacles and barriers, but I think the important part here is the work we have made, the work we have done, and the experience that I've gathered working in the restaurants, but also getting involved in the community, not only in the Oaxacan community, but also in the Los Angeles community. We have participated in a lot of cuisine expos, and also we have participated a lot with mezcal. We have collaborated a lot. It's important to collaborate with different groups and entrepreneurs for different initiatives so that they can support you in your goal. I think that Los Angeles knows us, but also does not want to know us sometimes. So something that happened around 2022, after so much work, where people from Oaxaca already had a reputation, some racist audios started arising. So we became joined again because we did not want the work from generations of people from Oaxaca just gave a steps back and devolved into racism. Like, yes, we know that we are small sized, but we should not be called some sort of insult that they called us. They called us Oaxaquitas. So there should be work and there should be respect towards other organizations and other groups, for example, from Asia or Africa. So that has given us a different point of view where Oaxaca people from Oaxaca can go in as a group and we are appreciated. Here in Los Angeles, the type of cuisine that they have is the largest in the world. We have food from all over the world. So that is something that also inspires us to be better, to make a change from just using tlayudas. So we have some people here who are cooking food from Oaxaca and they are making fusion with Asian food. So that is very interesting. Here is where your imagination can fly. I think that part of the success of Madre and part of what has opened the doors for me is imagination, being very proud of my culture, where I'm from, and trying to expose it a lot. So my grandmother was from the Mixteca and my parents were from Valles Centrales. So for me, dancing with the band of Diablos de la Mixteca is incredible. And at every chance that I get, I express that and I dance with them. But I did not know that that was going to have so much impact to dance with them in the Mezcal Festival because people had a different experience there. See the band and see that festival. It was very impressive, but that is something that I did because I wanted to show my culture along with the mezcal, and that was part of the program. But you realize that if I didn't have that culture and that tradition, perhaps that festival would have been just another event. So I've always said that someone from Oaxaca, the richest that we have is our culture. Forget what you have in the bank, forget what you've studied. You are rich in culture because you are from the richest state in Mexico, culturally speaking, and that is something to advertise. So success is about being from Oaxaca and to show my tradition as you are showing off your art. So we have a lot of great artists, great musicians from Oaxaca. So here we have a music band from Sierra Norte, from children who are very successful, and they have been here in all the museums in the US. We have folkloric bands, we have a lot of groups that are competing. So we are competing from restaurants in Sierra Norte and the restaurant from Valles Centrales. And soon we will have a restaurant from the Istmo. So that culture, that passion, when you are focusing on something, and for example, I am going to serve food only from this very specific region and with a cozy environment, a clean environment for people from Los Angeles. So that way we can focus on educating the people. So in my mezcal program, I do not focus myself on tequila, whiskey, or vodka. I focus on mezcal because that is what I want to do. And that has made a difference. So that is going to work little by little because people are going to start learning about this. People who consume mezcal are not going to get to you in 6 weeks or 6 months. It's going to take years. So you need to do that promotion. What is your purpose? What is your goal? Mine was to show traditional Oaxacan fruit in Los Angeles with the best traditional mezcal selection. So yes, definitely preserving our tradition and our culture, even being in another country, is very valuable. A few days ago, I shared this event with my sister. My mom was a migrant, so the implications, I have a sister who is a US citizen. She's there, but she grew up in Cimatlan until she was 14 years old. But she had to return to the US. But she misses Oaxaca a lot. She misses the parties. She misses the festivals. They have to always have to do the traditional dances or in the traditional festivities. Everything is very aligned with the religious, so you always have to participate in those festivals. So that is a feeling that is missed a lot. So I'm really happy that you preserve and promote the community from Oaxaca who have those roots and that culture who belongs to them. And it's very important that it's promoted and preserved. Now, again, about the festival, we saw that you have a collection of more than 400 types of agave. And you have Real Minero here from Santa Catarina, who is nearby Cimatlan. So they, in their farm, have a lot of agaves, a lot of variety. So this question is about mezcal specifically. How do you make sure that the mezcal that you offer is sustainable and supports small producers from Oaxaca? That's a great question. It's a very long topic, and it's part of the success of our company and our project. Because if you noticed, I have repeated the word traditional. We are very focused on educating about traditional mezcal and sharing traditional mezcal from Oaxaca and from Mexico. I travel a lot to Oaxaca. I work side by side with them. I go to learn in the farms. I see their projects. And the projects that are here, the mezcal projects that come here through an importer, I really have to meet them from up close, that they are small productions, brands from families, that they are produced in a traditional and conscious way. To me, traditional means, as far as I've learned, that the community, that this product is valued by the community, so they are given the title of Maestro Mezcalero. So if you go to any location, you can figure out where the history and the tradition is. And for me, that it's important. So whenever the region the mezcal is from, I work from several communities. I am not an importer, but every time there is a new project, I go there and I speak to them, or even I bring them from Oaxaca to the US through an importer because I like their project or because it's about to enter the US. So I am the first to open their doors in this market. And thanks to the reputation and the teamwork that we have and the years of work that we have done, what we promote is basically a success in the US as traditional mezcal. So I make sure that first, what I focus on is that the mezcal project is not for cocktails, because it is done for cocktails. Nobody traditionally took mezcal in a cocktail. So that is the first step. The second is to know the family who have at least 3 generations producing mezcal, and it's not something that a factory popped up in the last couple of years because it's in vogue. Third, I visit the farms, the palenques, and I try to learn from them. I try and see if what they're telling me is actually true. I do my work because that information is what I bring to the US and what I use to promote them. So I work with them very closely, not only in Oaxaca, but also in the state of Michoacan, in Jalisco. And I have worked with other projects from Guerrero and Puebla. But also, I can tell you that the projects, the traditional projects, look for me because they already know what I do, the type of projects that I support, which is very selective, which is focused on historic drinks and the tradition of Mexico. So they know that with us, they can achieve promotion. So what I focus on is to learn the projects very well. I visit them on site and I communicate a lot with them. I communicate with a lot of maestros and a lot of maestras, like when is the next batch? I have questions about from customers. So I'm 100% communicating with them, and that's the difference that we make. I also have different tools here to provide education, some maps from graphics. So every day I'm learning more about this topic. And in this area, I am fully in, even for food and for mezcal, because for me it's very important to keep tradition alive. For me, no, mezcal is already all over the world, but I think that we can make a difference in how people can appreciate it and have respect for it. How can they drink it respectfully, and how we can make a difference where the large markets that we have, such as brands from artists and the larger brands which are transnational, unfortunately, they are having a negative impact in Oaxaca and in other states because of the demand of artisanal mezcal for cocktails, which is in large volumes. The project that I have is different. It's more traditional. It's from a small batch of just 100 bottles or so. So that's what people like here in Los Angeles, that it's very selected. It's very traditional. So you can drink them. Maybe they have a lot of alcohol, but that's how it's being consumed back in our original land. So I know that if the alcohol content is below 40 degrees, it's not as traditional. But you know that traditional has a lot of alcohol content. So in the end, mezcal is not drunk by shots. Mezcal is something that you kiss. You have to appreciate it slowly. You have to thank the earth before you drink it. So you have to be very respectful in drinking mezcal. So a good traditional mezcal is not going to provoke any hangover in you. You just have to eat some chapulines, drink some water. And this is where people value our work, because this is not something that I started yesterday. I have a decade working on this. And a lot of people have started to do the same, and I like that because they have understood my message, which is to continue to promote the historical drink of Mexico, which is mezcal, but promote it respectfully. I do not see other projects like this as a competition. I actually like that more people do what I do, which is appreciate, educate, and share mezcal from Oaxaca and also from Jalisco, Nuevo León. We have the largest selection in the US, but only from traditional projects, not even in Mexico. You can find a collection like this. So we are very proud to share this drink. It has hundreds of years, and we're also very proud to have this beautiful market, which is Los Angeles, being able to share and that people appreciate it. The fact that people appreciated that event filled me with joy because people now know the effort. They appreciated that Maestros Mezcaleros came from Mexico. They believed in the project. They know that the work that I have here, and that fills me with hope, hope for change. Because if I promote mezcal, traditional mezcal here, I can also have an impact in Oaxaca, where commercial mezcal is promoted, which is just produced for cocktails. And that in my humble opinion, I think it's having an impact in the environment. Thank you. I agree with you. And I'm glad that you mentioned this is just a school of thought. And it's important to educate on these points, sustainability in mezcal production. Because here in Cimatlan and the Chapingo University, which promotes a lot of agronomy, there are a lot of agave fields. And it's nice that the students continue with the tradition of mezcal production, but it's important to reinforce good practices for its production. Because as you mentioned, it's not, I mean, it's good that everyone tastes it, but taking it to the entire world has a lot of implications. So we need to be very conscious. And I appreciate that you mentioned that. And I would like to ask you a question as a message for everyone who is listening to you from Oaxaca, and that is, what measures do you think are necessary to combat overexploitation of agave, and how do you educate your customers about the importance of artisanal mezcal? I think the measures, you and I have them as consumers. We have the opportunity to make a difference, particularly if we know how mezcal is produced, the work involved in producing it, how long an agave takes to grow. The more information you have and the more education we can provide to a consumer, it's going to be more impactful and it's going to be more appreciated. Unfortunately, mezcal is in vogue and everyone wants to have their own mezcal brand. So education is the only way we're going to have a difference. We're going to make a difference. For us, it's very hard to have a new consumer every day because they are going to bring someone new, and then they will also appreciate it as much as we do because they know that we share this learning and we share this appreciation for agave. So I think that little by little, we need to understand that here in Los Angeles, we started to introduce mezcal in cocktails because people didn't know the drink. So they started introducing it in drinks. But now the demand for mezcal cocktails is too much. Now anyone can set up a bar who can call it mezcaleria, but it's just cocktails. But I think that the system has to change, and we need to tell the customer, the consumer, that you have to kiss mezcal, to drink it slowly, because a plant takes 7 to 25 years to grow. And there are a lot of factors involved, the type of distillation, how long does a family produces mezcal from 3 to 5 generations. So it's important to provide this information when you are sharing mezcal. it's important that they do not lower the prices of traditional mezcal, because at the moment that the prices are down and they start competing with price with the traditional drinks, for example, as they are drunk in the local communities, if they start to lower the price because it's not economically feasible, they start to produce in large quantities for a brand who wants to buy, I don't know, 1,000 liters per week, and that means more cash. So that is a challenge that we have. We need to work with different groups that we have in Mexico, different colleagues who can teach also the maestros mezcaleros who are farmers. A lot of them do not know how to assess their costs. They do not know if they're making money or if they're losing money. So the moment you provide information, both the producer and the consumer, you realize that there is a lot of misinformation. So it's important to support both sides, to continue to believe in traditional mezcal, to continue to educate step by step. I think that it's easier for me to just, give up and do what everyone else does, to sell to large brands. But for me specifically, I love what I do. I love to make a difference in someone's life. I love to be remembered. So when people go back, I like them to say, here's where I tasted first mezcal. So when people go to Oaxaca, they say, yeah, I had my first mezcal in Madre, and Iván sent me here with you. So we have that work already done and that connection already established. So part of the success was the festival that we had in LA. So it's important for me to work step by step and appreciate the maestros and maestras back home, because without them we wouldn't have this impressive drink. And I think that they should take all the credit. They should also make the most earnings and all education credits and acknowledgements. Yes, the acknowledgement to preserve the legacy of traditional mezcal. We have a very few minutes left, and we are going to receive questions from the audience. But while the questions come in, I want to focus on the generations. You spoke that the people who produce mezcal have generations doing so. I have friends who are continuing this tradition because it's the next generation in line. So I'm going to ask a question specifically for young people from Oaxaca. As a successful business person in the US, what is needed so that young people from Oaxaca find opportunities for development here in their communities of origin without having to migrate? That is something that I was analyzing, because I would like to return to Oaxaca soon. And what would I do in Oaxaca if I didn't have a restaurant? I would do the same. Actually, I would like to leverage my culture, be ingenious, and create a company where I could provide mezcal tours because of the reputation that I have. So maybe have a cuisine tour, but back in my home. And the advice that I have for young entrepreneurs in Oaxaca is, I think that we have a lot of culture to share. So if you continue to look for it, you will find something that is different. So in your case, the wood, I've seen it in your work. Everything that's arriving here is opportunities from Oaxaca. So mezcal cups made out of clay or ceramics or paintings. So the more you see art projects, the more you realize that there is a lot of art and there is a lot of drive from our people in the community to make a difference. So it's important to have a vision, a different vision. So I would be very pleased if we had, we already have in LA a lot of good restaurants, from Oaxaca, but I think it's the time so that the next generation is going to be waiting for the next chef who's going to bring the food from Oaxaca, but that is more elevated fine dining in Oaxaca. I think that Los Angeles is ready for that. So for entrepreneurs right now doing something different and look for something and opportunities in mezcal, not only promotion but also education. You can create a group about focusing on all the waste that we produce in mezcal, so all the firewood, so some project that starts to look for that information. It will be very impressive that someone from Oaxaca is gathering the good side of mezcal, but also the dark side of mezcal, and portraying it in art, in data, in music, with information, so where you can grasp it. So that's an opportunity. I am thinking that this is the next step that we have. Also in arts, I see a lot of opportunities. So now we have the rum from Oaxaca, from cane, distillation of cane. So I think that's the next opportunity, to meet someone here on this side to see what is the next opportunity, like Oaxacan whiskey, Oaxacan rum. So everything is coming very strongly, the colors, the culture. And I say it again, if anyone is here from the Istmo de Tehuantepec, it'll be amazing that you opened a restaurant here focused on garnachas, for example. So I always say to people from other states, like, hey, you are from Jalisco. Why don't you not open a restaurant from Jalisco? Why do you always want to do the same thing about tacos? Just open a traditional cuisine from Jalisco. The same would be from Guerrero. You have traditional cuisine, so bring it here. There is a lot of opportunity, there is a lot of tradition, and we need to focus on that because a lot of opportunities are opening up. I like the way you say it, because beyond looking at what you can innovate is also look at the bad parts, at the processes, the waste, how we can find opportunities there to create a business. Because sometimes we only see about producing mezcal, whiskey, and rum, because that's the next step in innovation and diversification of products. But we should also see the other side. What are the implications of all this production? I like that you say that, because it's a very systemic vision that we can provide the young people to advance. But sometimes we need to take a few steps back to see all that we need to see. Thank you, Iván. I appreciate a lot. I think that we're going to have questions soon. But also with your vision, we have the Olympic Games in LA in 2028. How do you see Madre, and how are you preparing for that? What is the restaurant thinking about that at world level, which is going to get to a lot of people who are going to visit Los Angeles? Before I continue, I think that entrepreneurs have a lot of opportunity in photography, and also regarding mezcal and agave. And regarding the Olympics, yes, we are started preparing. We have that goal of 2028. Madre is going to begin preparing some mezcal lots here in 3 years, so that they are exclusive for the Olympic Games, for people who come visit us from all over the world. So that mezcal is going to be exclusive from Los Angeles and exclusive from the Olympic Games, because that exclusivity is also a part of having just very tiny lots that you can only find here. And here we started creating some ideas where we can have an exclusive lot for the Olympic Games, exclusive batch for the Olympic Games, exclusive dishes that are going to be produced only in that season, and trying to find ingredients from Oaxaca that are seasonal, very specific. So I think that the games are going to be very impactful, economically speaking, but restaurants like ours are what makes Los Angeles different. So in that way, we are very excited. We are going to welcome everyone with mezcal and food from Oaxaca, and I am very proud about that because not only we are going to open up this opportunity for the locals, but also from people from all over the world. That's amazing, Iván. Thank you. I would like to continue speaking with you, and I hope to visit you soon or a day that you can visit us in Cimatlan. Please visit us in the community center. So now we are going to close this session. I think that we are going to receive some questions from the audience. Thank you for the opportunity for this interview. Thank you so much. Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you, Iván. I think that for everyone has benefited from this session, and we have had a lot of participation. So we want to ask a few questions. First is Ruth, who asks, do you have permission to import and distribute? No, I do not. In the US, you have three phases: importing, distribution, and the restaurant itself. So you can't have three permissions at once, or the same person cannot hold the same permissions because US wants everyone to have different works. But I work with several importers and several distributors who have a very small selection of traditional mezcal, and they are focused on that specifically. They also want to open doors, and that is another opportunity for business, importing and distributing. Thank you so much. Next question. Jesus asks, congratulations to Iván for his project. I would like to know more about the process of importing the drinks and food. About importing, you will need to have a company in Mexico who exports and then create a company in the US, or to have an importer in the US, and then you can do business together. But it's important to have a company in Mexico, something that you need in Mexico for liquor, particularly, someone who teaches maestros how to get their own permissions. I think that's a business opportunity. There is a group of women in Oaxaca who are doing it very well, but there is a lot of opportunity in all over the country because there is not a lot of education for the people to get their permission. So that is a way in which you can also have a business about it. Work with an importer in the US, do business together, and then finally we would buy mezcal here. Perfect, thank you. Dionisio asks, how has the legal process to create a US business being a migrant and a Mexican? It hasn't been easy, and it takes a long time. It's very difficult regarding the state that you are, and if there's alcohol involved in the business, it's going to make it harder and also a lot more expensive. But I think that if you have good training, if you have contacts, you can do it better. I think that the first was the hardest, but the second was easier. And the fourth was also varied. I thought each was going to get easier, but no, it was a different city, so they have different regulations. The process was the same, perhaps longer, but yeah, it's quite difficult, but only the first time. Edith asks, how can you recognize a good mezcal to buy outside from Oaxaca? My mom and my grandfather were from Oaxaca, so how can I do that? What I see first is the label, so that the information is complete, the number of liters, type of agave, the degrees of alcohol, type of distillation, type of fermentation, type of water that it's used. The more information the label has, it's more verifiable for me. So if you have some mezcal experience, you can also check for the pearls, so the little bubbles that it form. but also know more about the project. Even if I am in Oaxaca, if I buy it from a store, the more information that I have about in the bottle, it's better. Also, Maria asks, you as from Oaxaca, what's your recommendation to look for or establish a point of sale in the US? Could you be more specific about what type of point of sale? I hope that she can complement the question. If you have a visa or if you can visit as a tourist and come to the market here in the US or LA to come to know what kind of needs there are and what opportunities there are. I repeat, LA opens its arms to everyone, and every day there's a new thing, is introducing a new culture. There's a lot of art, there's a lot of photography, but the people also appreciates education. So in agave or in corn, that's something that's coming very strong. Also education regarding water, which is basic for humans. So all types of information. Photography is very valued. Clay, ceramics, paintings. So everything is very highly valued. And I would advise you to come to LA and see what opportunities there are. Thank you so much. Many people many people say that this is very cool, and they have left their contact information to recommend each other. Thank you to be here in this session. I hope that everyone has learned more than they already knew. So now we know, as we said, that we had a gift to people who were here and interested in the topic. So the winner of today's prize, we will be sharing the names of the participants of this session. And Dionisio Velázquez Guzmán is the winner of the book. We are going to get in touch with you. Thank you so much for participating. And congratulations. Dionisio says thank you. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you, Iván. I really want to drink mezcal right now, but it's just Tuesday. So I will be practicing this knowledge this weekend. Thank you so much. This session has been very interesting, very fruitful. I think it's very clear how from our roots we can create great projects as well as we structure them correctly and we put all our passion and professionalism in it. Thank you, Iván, for representing us as Mexicans in the US. And from our part, Kingala, we thank you again and tell you that every month we have a mastermind session, and we would like to invite you to come each month to listen to these topics, which are very interesting for all of us. And in the US Embassy in Mexico, in its YouTube channel, we have all the sessions that we have organized and programmed. So as Miguel said at the beginning, we have a session in person in Oaxaca where we will provide more information later. So from our part, we thank you for coming, Eduardo and Iván. We really loved your intervention here. You have inspired us a lot to be able to create projects from our roots, and we all also like to thank Miguel and the US Embassy for your confidence and to promote this topic from our roots to the world. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next mastermind session. Thank you. Thank you everyone who joined.